Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett, and today I'm going to get into a video on how to bypass certain firewalls. Now, as far as things goes, I want to mention that this is a educational video. Check the laws in your local area to make sure that whatever you do is legal. So, just keep my bases covered. But on top of this, the reason why I'm making this is if you're going to be a system administrator, you probably should know this. And it should be worthwhile, especially if you're a parent or going to be a parent. It might be worthwhile knowing the downsides or the flaws to some of these firewalls and putting all your faith into the given firewall, whether it's in a router or whatever. So as far as that goes, if you want to see more videos like this come out, and if you like these videos and want to support this channel and support me, then go to Patreon and you can donate there. I just opened up an account there. But anyways, as far as that goes, let's jump on in. So as far as things goes, I'm going to be talking more on the networking side of things and not the client side of things. A client being computer, laptop, tablet, whatever. The reason for this is client side things. If you're dealing with software, then it can be tricky on explaining how to bypass that. It is possible most of the time if the person really wants to do it, but it can be a little bit tricky, and most of that doesn't happen in the real world. That tends to happen more in certain home environments or certain other things, and again, it can be a little bit tricky. Now you can say, all right, what about a local account versus, or a normal account versus a administrator account? You're also going to have to look into that. Again, it depends on the operating system and stuff on how to do that little bit. I'm going to explain more on the networking side because that's probably where you're going to see most of your stuff. And the reason why I mention this is many work environments, they'll let you bring in your laptops or whatever, and that way you can watch movies or play games or whatever while you're on lunch. While on normal work hours, you probably should be using their devices if possible. So as far as that goes, let's take a look at this. You got three types of firewalls, but I'm just going to really talk about two. The first and the major one that I'm not really going to get too deep into this particular video is something called a next generation firewall. In a next generation firewall, it looks at each packet, and you won't really have those in the workplace, or even you especially won't have them at home, because you're talking about like each one of these firewalls is tens of thousands of dollars. The fact of the matter is unless you're working at a major bank, you probably ain't going to be dealing with that at all, because you just don't have enough money to play around with that. And not too many people are really certified into it. It's fairly new. I'm somewhat trained into it, and let's put it this way, that it's I could tell you that it is very difficult to grasp, because even if I've talked to people who actually work on the devices and getting them to actually explain things, they're iffy on it themselves, and they built the thing. So yeah, it's new, and a lot of places can't afford it. So there's no point of getting too deep into it, especially in home environments. You ain't going to see that. So the two you will see is whitelist and blacklist. So what a whitelist means is anything that is on that list, it's allowed. So if YouTube's on the list, then you can go to it. However, if it's not on the list, then it's not allowed. This is the most strictest type of firewall, normal firewall, obviously not the next generation. But the other one, and this is probably more commonly used, is a blacklist. See, the whitelist is fine for things like in school environments. So how many porn sites are there? Well, the fact of the matter is it's impossible to keep up with each one that pops up. So, you can whitelist sites, and that way you don't have to worry about that. Well, chances are is if you're in a business environment or certain other environments, you really don't want to do a whitelist, because teachers might, coworkers, and even in college environment stuff, teachers might be using some random sites, and you don't want to block it and have it where they have to call up each and every time to whitelist a given site. And even within the site itself, you might have to whitelist portions of the site itself, because yeah, you can whitelist the main page, but I've seen it where it goes to the second page and it blocks that. So that's something to note. So the blacklist is basically anything that is on that list, it blocks it. So if YouTube's on a list, it blocks it. Where if it's not on the list, then it allows it. Simple as that. Now, as far as that goes, both of these, they run into one major problem, especially if they're not set up right, or you're using low budget devices, or someone who doesn't really know what they're doing when they're setting up, is you can bypass them through simply knowing the IP address. So as far as that goes, let's pull up the CMD, and let's do a trace RT Pornhub. And look, there's the site itself, the first thing. So let's go to Google, put in that, what was it? Sorry, wrong one. 2066-254 11441. And let's press enter and give it a few seconds to go to, if it actually, oh, I did 166, sorry about that. There we go. And yep, there we go, Pornhub. Like it or not, there you go. So as far as that goes, you know, some of them, and yeah, you know, how to blur that out, I'm pretty sure. But as far as that goes, that's a problem with some of the lower budget ones, or if they're not set up right, is if you know the actual IP address, you can just bypass it through that, and it's totally possible. In a lot of places, a lot of countries that have firewalls for the entire country, that tends to happen because either the system administrator kind of sucks, or the system administrator is good and they are good-hearted and they don't want to block citizens from going places. So they just kind of block the Pornhub, you know, that Pornhub.com, but they don't block the actual IP address, and that way people can go and do what they want to do. And technically they did their job, and they could say, oh, I just didn't know, and you know, it's whatever. And most of the time they can just go to their supervisors and say, well, it's not possible to block it on that level, and which is a complete lie. And then they can say, oh wait, I just learned today that it is possible. So that type of stuff happens. But in a business environment, normal business environment, it's a mixture of incompetence or just not caring. So as far as that goes, that's one method. But the fact of the matter is you can, let's just say, for example, this is your router, this is you on crack, and this is the websites. And let's just say this is the VPN service, VPN, that operator that you want to use. Well, the fact of the matter is normally if you hit here and want to go to the site, it blocks it. Well, the thing is you can bypass that by going to the VPN service. So it goes to the internal network to go external, and to go external, it goes to the VPN service. And then from there, it goes to whatever website. And the reason why this works is basically this right here sees that the destination address is the VPN service. It does not see that. It does not see this is an actual destination service. So that's a big thing to note, is you can bypass some systems. But note that some, they actually do block VPN services and other things like that. Another thing that you can do is it's very similar. It's called a RAT, or remote administration tool. You can put a RAT on your computer, and basically what a RAT does is if you allow it, it will allow full control, keyboard, mouse, everything on your computer as if you're sitting there in front of it. Well, the thing is you can use a RAT. Make sure you have the thing secure so no one else can get in, because again, it's basically giving full control. But the big thing is instead of you browsing the internet, all you're doing is connected to the RAT, and from there your computer is going out and browsing whatever site or doing whatever. Now you might say, oh well, I can actually put whatever game on my computer and play it through that method. Yes, you can, but it's going to suck unless you got extremely good internet. And the game, if it, the frame rate and whatnot is probably not going to be good. So note that it is technically possible to play games and stuff like that, even if it's locally, but your frame rate's not going to be the best. You're not really going to want to watch videos through that method or anything like that, because it's probably going to be that bad. Also note that this method does eat a lot of data. So yeah, stay away from that if you really don't need it. So just note that. Now, as far as your other type of firewalls or your other type of blocks, is let's just say that's the router, that's you, that's person B, could be a parent, could be a coworker, whatever. And then this is the site. Well, let's just say that all VPNs are blocked, so that's not an option. All outside stuff is blocked from you. So, all right, you try to do something, try to go to the site, it just doesn't happen. But person B, whether it's a parent or whatever, they try to go to it, they can go to the site. Now, there's a way to test this is try to get a try to find a thing that I use. Try to find a device that can connect to the network that's never connected to it before, and see if it can access that site or whatever that's blocked. What that will tell you right there is what type of block you have. See, there's things that you can block. You can block down to the IP address, so something like the 192.168.1.1. And let's just say, for example, that this device had that. It wouldn't, but let's just say it did. Well, you can actually say, okay, anything that isn't that IP address, and make that a stack IP address. Anything that isn't that IP address, then block it from going to whatever sites. All right, so chances are that's not going to be the case. So chances are it's going to be a MAC address. Well, what this proves is if this is allowed, well, this isn't, then basically what that proves is either the IP address is being blocked on this, so it's given a stack IP address, and it says whatever the IP address is, then block it from doing whatever. You can, depending on the router, you can actually easily fix that. Just spoof the MAC address and see if it gives you a different IP address and see if that works. Chances are that's not going to be the case. Chances are nothing's going to block it from the IP address level. Chances are it's going to block it on a MAC level. But if this is able to connect, and this is able to connect and able to go to the site with no problem, well, the fact of the matter is that proves that it's looking at your MAC address, and if you try to go to the thing, then it won't do it, because what's happening is it's seeing, okay, this is the child's device. It's looking at the MAC address. It's a personal identifier for the given device, and it says that that personal identifier may not go to whatever site or service. So from there, the best way to counteract that is simply spoof the MAC address. I'll get into that in a second. Now, what happens if this can't go to whatever device, to whatever service, and but this one can? Well, what that means is it says anything but this MAC address. So this MAC address could do whatever it wants, but anything that isn't that MAC address, block it from doing whatever. And this is what you're going to see in many corporate environments. Now, I want to mention very clearly right now, trying to bypass this will probably get you fired. And not only that, in many areas, it can be illegal. So, know what you're doing, know the law, stuff like that. I want to mention that very clearly at this point, because what we're about to do is now figure out what this MAC address is, since this one can go in and do whatever, but all the other ones can't. So again, next step, you probably will be breaking a law if you're in a corporate environment. In home environment, obviously, but it's whatever. So as far as that goes, you need to use some services. There's plenty of them out there. Just look up how to find a local MAC address. There's like 900 services that you can use, but just scan the MAC addresses and see which one is connected. You can use network, Wireshark, stuff like that to actually find this type of stuff. But the fact of the matter is you need to find out what is the MAC address for that given device. So from there, you're going to need to spoof your device into tricking the system into thinking that you're that device. So there's a few ways to do this. And the easiest is to simply spoof it. So if you're with Windows, this will tell you a step-by-step on how to do it for the most part. And it'll even tell you what a MAC address is. If you're on Mac, Linux, whatever, you can actually look up how to do it for your device. If you're on something like Android or an iPad, it's going to be a lot more difficult. You might actually have to just forget about it unless you're okay with rooting the device or something like that. So that's something to note there. But anything else, you should be able to easily do it. So laptops, desktops, stuff like that. But that's basically all you have to do is let me bring that paint back up. If this device and this device, this new device, never touched a network before, or it's just a round device, if that can connect to whatever service that your device can't, then that basically says it's just looking at your device and says that device particularly cannot go to whatever service. Whether if it's looking at this device and that's the only one that can connect to whatever service, then that basically means that you need to find out the MAC address for that device and then spoof your device's MAC address to mimic that, and it will figure it out and say, okay, you can now go and do that. Now, if you're in a corporate environment and you are say, all right, I want to take my chances, scan the network, and spoof the device, it should be noted that many environments, especially if they're set up right, one, they keep logs. So yeah, they might not go after you today, tomorrow, but in a couple of weeks they might have cops show up and drag you out. Another thing is if the environment is worthwhile, so chances are it's like a bank or government or something like that. If, say for example, I'm the network administrator, I will literally get a text message saying this is exactly happening. Someone's scanning the network internally. And then I'll get another text message, or I'll have the system where it calls me and does text-to-speech, tells me what's going on, so I can remote get in and block their stuff and get cops involved immediately. So it's very important to note that this is something worthwhile to know how to do. Many corporate environments, you most likely won't have someone that on top of it. But if you have some system administrators, network administrators that are on top of it, then basically it is worthwhile. And then again, this is one of the reasons why I'm making this. It's because if a network or system administrator is worthwhile and they're looking at logs and looking at stuff, then they will be able to see and stop this type of attack, internal attack, as quickly as possible. Because for all they know, it could be a corporate spy or something like that that's causing problems, whereas you're just trying to play Candy Crush and the Candy Crush is blocked. So as far as that goes, that's pretty much it. Again, if it's client side, best thing you can do is so here's the thing: if you can run a virtual machine, there is a slim chance that might work. Chances are that won't work, and chances are you probably won't be able to run a virtual machine. Another thing you could do theoretically is if the problem is like some type of firewall system or something like that, is see if you can go into firewall and just edit it to allow whatever program. Chances are that's not going to be allowed. If the firewall is set up right, then it shouldn't even give you access. Some environments it will, so note that. So like if you got a small office or whatever, then it's going to be cheaper to just have localized client-side firewalls versus a server-side. There's a few things like that. Again, it gets a bit tricky when you get client-side because so many variables come in play. But most of your stuff, it's going to be network side, as far as you're going to have an individual device that all it is a firewall. Or you're going to have some routers, like home routers or office routers, that are mixed between a firewall plus whatever it may be. So some places, like say for example, if I go to a small doctor's office, don't really have a lot of money, starting up, whatever, third world country, I'll throw a family's router in there, and I'll set up where parenting control, and that way you don't have anyone accessing porn, infecting all the other machines, and I mean, and it's good enough. I mean, you only have 2 or 3 clients there that's connected to it, and a lot of people might say, well, that kind of is stupid, but the fact matters you only got 2 or 3 clients, and that's good enough, and they can't afford anything better. So you kind of pick your battles. So note that, but note that most places you probably will have more of a professional grade level stuff, especially with prices going down. So it's a little bit different. But anyways, with that being said, if you got any questions, anything else, then leave that in the comment section, and I will try to answer as quickly as possible. Leave a like, subscribe, share. Also check out the Patreon, and I'll see you next video.